It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is another premier worldwide transmission. Thank you for joining us on this October 2nd, 2012, Tuesday transmission. We are going to be live here blasting on the radio for the next 3-hour simulcasting video at prisonplanet.tv. And when our guests join us via video Skype today, and when we're showing documents and video clips, you can watch the video feed. But by tomorrow, we should be done with some of the construction in here, and you'll be back to video of, well, my mug. And, of course, the nightly news as well is video, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, InfoWarsNews.com or prisonplanet.tv. Reverend Clenard Childress of BlackGenocide.com will be joining us, breaking down how Planned Parenthood and all these other groups are on record. In fact, can we cue up the Kill the Ugly Black Baby clip that was airing a month ago? And some of those other video clips, we can play that while he's on, where the abortionist, that's pretty much the default statement. I've heard it myself. You're not going to adopt these ugly black babies, are you? I didn't know they were ugly, but according to them, they are. So that's what it's really all about. Of course, Obama has helped massively expand abortion funding, where it's basically forced in Africa and in other countries. If you want the government funds, well, you got to get sterilized. You got to kill that baby, because the earth is overpopulated. Whether you believe that or not, the point is we should have an honest debate about this and not let Planned Parenthood prance around and play the part of victims. They do that in Austin, Texas, where I live. And it's the only county in Texas where taxpayer money pays for abortions. So I moved out of the county. My offices are still here. But I don't live inside Travis County anymore because of that. That was the final straw. But they're doing that nationwide. I mean, that's what the Obama health care is about, paying for abortions. France now pays for 100% of abortions, and they push it on people. So that's where this is all going. And, hey, don't worry. Just because you don't get an abortion, eat some GMO that sterilizes the rats. You're going to have a lot of trouble having that baby. And then I love all the yuppies that support this. Hey, don't you get the fact that's why you can't have kids either? You know, you play the part like you're an elitist, eugenicist, globalist, but you're not. You are getting bombed by the GMO, the sodium fluoride, and all the rest of it, you fools. And then Daniel Simpson. We had, of course, the former CNN reporter on just a few days ago. Yeah, we had Amber Lyons on the show where foreign governments are funding CNN's news reports. They're told to cover up massacres by Bahrain and others while making up massacres by the Syrians or exaggerating them. They're told to basically promote al-Qaeda as loving saviors. And she wouldn't do that, so they tried to run her out, and she basically left on her own recognizance. But big whistleblower there. Well, Daniel Simpson is another big whistleblower, this time from the New York Times show. That is going to be coming up, and he's definitely being censored. I don't know how far he'll go on air to tell you what's happening since he left the New York Times, but I have the inside scoop. So that is in the 3rd hour today. That is all coming up. Now, we got the big debate tomorrow. They're practicing on their teleprompters right now. There won't be teleprompters there, but they're practicing off and on for the last week. Obama solid the last 3 days to read teleprompter responses to a battery of questions. So these will be pre-programmed answers, getting their story straight when the two act like a bunch of differences between them. So we're going to be breaking that down as well. And then obviously after the debate tomorrow, we'll be going over it all here on the radio Thursday as well, in the aftermath of the greatest show on earth. And it ain't P.T. Barnum. Suckers born every minute. Well, the suckers aborted every second if the globalists have their way. And that's what they see these children and their parents as. Ha-ha, die, sucker. We're going to be right back to break down a plethora of news. Yes, my friends, my fellow liberty lovers worldwide, thank you so much for joining us today. It is the second day of October, 2012, and we will be here, as we are weekdays, noon to 3 Eastern. Back Sundays 4 to 6 with the radio, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Central with InfoWars Nightly News, InfoWarsNews.com. Daniel Simpson, another whistleblower from inside the New York Times, will be joining us. We just had Miss Lyon from CNN on a few days ago, last Friday, whistleblowing on CNN, ordering her to cover up massacres, you name it. Well, Daniel Simpson's a big-time whistleblower from inside the New York Times. Wait till you hear about this. It's coming out. CIA in there, the White House saying what can be published, what can't be. No wonder they want to shut down the free web. No wonder they hate the Drudge Report, drudgereport.com. No wonder they hate WorldNet Daily. No wonder they hate Infowars.com. No wonder they hate PrisonPlanet.com. No wonder they hate things like Newsmax, because they don't control us. Nobody controls me, not even myself. When it gets down to it, I am so dedicated to telling it like it is, and I'm in such a habit of not shutting up and not backing down. Even when I get death threats on my family, it only makes me rampage 10 times more hardcore. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing someone committed, someone turned over to the fight for liberty. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on this Tuesday, worldwide transmission, October 2nd. Reverend Clenard Childress of blackgenocide.com is going to be joining us, getting into, well, the admitted program to abort the babies in America, especially black people. The heart of modern liberalism is absolute, well, precursor to the Nazis. I can't call them Nazis because they gave birth to the Nazis right out of the demonic loins of Margaret Sanger. So we're going to be breaking that down. In fact, I forgot to do it. They're all over major university sites. Will you guys print me some of the letters of Margaret Sanger? I want to read the exact quotes about we're going to hire blacks, we're going to pose as liberals, and we're going to exterminate them. And then the media's all, oh, you're so liberal. Oh, it's so liberal. Again, they hide their evil in plain view. So that is coming up. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I tend to get really, 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 really dark on air because I'm envisioning and I'm focusing mentally. And I image things. If I say Grand Canyon, I image the Grand Canyon. If I say Marilyn Monroe, which I like to image, I image Marilyn Monroe in my mind. When that type of thing is happening, when I start imaging and wargaming in my mind, the electrochemical computer God gave me, this supercomputer, and you've got one too, I suggest you use it, I then image their master plan, and I just go into a rage, a fitting rage that I liken to a raccoon caged that someone puts in a pond to drown, and you see it's fighting for its life up there. It's clawing at the metal bars. I mean, that's basically what you're hearing me do here on air. We are under absolute attack, and I want to shake you out of your delirium, out of your trance. Because if you're paying attention to even 1/10 of what's going on, you would be wildly animated in resistance to this takeover, because we are witnessing a global crime syndicate operation right now. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and broadcasting worldwide today. And we have those big guests coming up, and I will try to take phone calls while both guests are on with us. In fact, I'm going to take phone calls for first-time callers today on any issue, any item, any topic you'd like to ask me a question about, or any statements you have, or any news points that you would like to raise. We would love to hear from you. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231 is the toll-free number to join us. Okay, let me settle down just a little bit and tell you some of the news that's coming up today. 5 million volt cattle prod. To give you an idea, what is that, about 10 times stronger or more than the most powerful taser? But I was looking up those numbers this morning. There's 3 different taser voltage models, and it's well over 10 times their strongest. So I think Paul ought to add that to his article. Not that Paul's not already on fire. Paul Joseph Watson, writing 5-6 articles a day, all of them incredibly important in newsmaking. But there it is, a 5 million volt cattle prod developed for crowd control. See video of it. It glows blue with the lightning of Thor and Odin and I guess Zeus in it. And the taser keeps increasing the power. The more deaths from these systems, again, these are called less lethal in the real literature, and it's all part of a Rand Corporation plan, I don't know, came out like 20 years ago, to basically be able to slowly increase the power and then just get everybody acclimated to more and more deaths from rubber bullets, more and more deaths from tasers, more and more deaths from falling and hitting your head. In fact, later in the next hour after Reverend Childress leaves us, I'm going to play some video and audio clips because I saw a new one today of the police beating for no reason a man in a wheelchair, I guess a quadriplegic, and then stomping him once he's on the ground. And then I've seen all of these other countless videos of you know, the police dumping the quadriplegic out of the wheelchair and breaking their bones. Because when you've been paralyzed from the neck down or chest down for a long time, your bones are like Jell-O, basically. They just break very, very easily. They're like chalk. And it broke a bunch of his bones, and they said, get up. And the guy said, here's my card. I'm disabled. It's in my pocket. And they've got him there at the station about to, I guess, and they said, get up. And you could obviously tell the guy had no muscles, basically, in his body. You could tell, you know, that his arms and legs looked like they were the size of toothpicks, basically. And the cops just dump him out, and he just shatters on the ground. They didn't get in trouble either. It was a celebration. It's like, get up, and you're like, I'm paralyzed from the chest down. I can't. Oh, really? I'm going to throw you on the ground, you scum. And I see these videos all the time, so I've got the guys trying to compile some. And again, the problem is, I don't know, Chris Alaniz was in there telling me that he's finding dozens and dozens of these, of just people in wheelchairs, paralyzed, and it's just like they're going to have their bones broken. And I'm pro-police. I think it's good. I think they ought to line them up and shoot them all in the head and then dance around in their blood. Why not put devil outfits on while they do it? I'm being sarcastic, ladies and gentlemen. It's just we're turning into a total joke as a society. And, of course, 3 years ago, Homeland Security did have meetings, and because it came out in the Federal Register, and did propose. They sent it up to the highest levels of Homeland Security, but Congress wouldn't approve it, to have everyone wear taser bracelets when you fly. I mean, we've played the PR video for the company, and then that way everyone's wearing a taser bracelet. And so, you know, that way you can be trusted because you're guilty until proven enslaved. You're guilty until you die from the cancer viruses they inject you. So used to you were innocent until proven guilty. Then you were guilty until proven innocent. Now you're guilty, 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 scum, scum, scum. You're guilty, 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 scum, scum, scum. So 800-259-9231. I see the phones are loaded there. We will take some when we come back from break. I'm shaking the show up. You know, have you noticed I have even more energy? It's because I realize it's like old-fashioned radio, not having the studio fully put together and the lights taken down and things while they put in more soundproofing. And so we're not shooting video in here today of the full studio. We're streaming video, but not of what's going on in the studio, documents, clips, and things at prisonplanet.tv. And it's like old days. I'm very intimate with the microphone. I'm right up on it right now. I'm hunched over the microphone like I would do in the past. And I'm telling you, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. I think we're going to go to 1 day a week We'll have a video feed of the guest and everything, but one day a week I will not be on camera. In fact, this is so enjoyable, I may just get rid of streaming full video of the daytime radio show because I'm loving this. I mean, this is just awesome. I mean, this is like a walk in the park. This is like an azure summer sky, crystal clear and high. I mean, I am liking this like mountain air right now. I mean, boy, howdy, is this good. Okay, I got to stop. I've got to stop. Like the HAL 9000 says, just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. I'm afraid, Dave. I'm afraid. If you haven't seen 2001 Space Odyssey, I'm sorry, you're not going to get it. I'm sure many of you have. Most of the listeners are smarter than I am. But I do realize that we're now on over 120 AM and FM affiliates, a lot of them giant stations like in Chicago, 1530. And there's a lot of new listeners tuning in. And let me just give you the message here. We're not in Kansas anymore. I think that says it all right there. And if you're wondering who I am, well, I'm a maniac. I'm a crazy person because nowadays it's crazy to be aggressive. It's crazy to want freedom. And it's crazy to be upset about 1.6 billion bullets bought and the government gearing up for martial law and admissions of preparations for total global meltdown. So when we get back, we'll give you a little bit of the economic news, the military news, the debates coming up, and then we'll also get into some of the reports here dealing with what is really going on with abortion in this country and who is behind that, and a lot more. Stay with us. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen, transmitting worldwide. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, I'm going to your phone calls here in a moment, just to break the monotony of my ranting before I get to all the news. But let me give you a little news flash. 10 years ago, they started putting naked body scanners in select airports in Europe and the United States, and the cancer risk have come out even in the Boston Globe, that at Boston Logan, massive increase, sevenfold increase in many cancers. And then the ensuing cover-up, just like with the deadly dust on 9/11 with the collapsing towers that the government knew was deadly and said was healthy because they wanted to open everything back up, and then that later all came out, but we were called conspiracy theorists for pointing it out at the time. Well, now, about a year ago, Paul Watson reported on it. The Drudge Report linked to it. It became a big news item. And then we reported on it a few months ago, but now it's being announced. It's in several newspapers. RT's also covering it. It's up at prisonplanet.com. TSA to install molecular body scanners. You heard about the feds. They want to give them to police, where they jerk you out of the car, aim a machine at you. It has more false positives than anything you can imagine. You know, they've proven the lie detector tests are a fraud. They don't care. It's an excuse to say you're guilty. They're now going to walk everybody through. They're getting ready to put them in nationwide. A scanner, a sniffer. They've already got some machines that sniff for radiation or the stuff associated with explosives that's got so many false positives it'll make your head spin. And now they are going to put these in, and it's going to smell for thousands of things. And guaranteed, it's all about making you guilty, and then they're going to drag you off to the private screening rooms. They've said, you won't have a choice. We're going to take you in here. We're going to strip search you. And, folks, they're going to take your clothes off. They're already ripping colostomy bags off. They're already probing into the cavities of women's bodies. Folks, you already get the beginnings of a proctology exam. They already, remember Miss USA in Dallas crying? They went in her pants, in her body. I hate to talk like that on air. I mean, that's what they did. She broke down crying. She said they went in and she described, you know, scientifically the female opening, and they did it. And they're going to do it to you and your family, and they're going to do it at the side of a highway. And let me tell you, you give them a problem, they're going to gun you and your family down. And they're going to rob your bags $1 million a piece every year because, like the, you know, people getting convicted say, hey, we all do it. We all steal. And all of us have been robbed by them, and this is the new sacrament of the brown shirts. And they're going to say we're doing it to fight al-Qaeda, which the government publicly runs. I'll go to break and come back. This is a short segment and go to your calls. But this is a big deal. TSA to install molecular body scanners. I'm going to get Kurt, I'm going to do a full report on this, kind of rehash Watson's, because now it's out. TSA is introducing the new full-body scanner system to American airports. The scanners will be capable of detecting every tiny trace of any substance on your body to find gunpowder or bomb-making materials. Or they say marijuana, whatever the case is, and it's just going to be false positives. You know, I've gone through the airport before, and the guy admitted he was a listener. He smiled when I was walking up in Vegas last year shooting Ventura's TV show. And when I walked through, there was a beep. And they go, oh, you've been chosen randomly. And I go, I just saw you. Push the button. You got a button over there. Yeah, I listened to your show. Listened yesterday. And he looked at me and he goes, he licked his lips and he goes, this is my administrative right. Or you don't have to fly today, Mr. Jones. He didn't do that part, but spiritually he did. And so there you go. There you go. Oh, the scanner says you're guilty. It's this religion that we're guilty, we're not to be trusted with the jumbotrons going in the Walmarts and in the public parks and Mall of America, literally with Homeland Security announcing, did someone leave a bag? The terrorists are everywhere. Only trust Homeland Security. The whole country's be like an airport with announcements of, please do not leave bags. If you see one left, call authorities. This is a high security area. That's what a free country sounds like now. All the borders are wide open and the government ships tens of thousands of guns and hand grenades to Mexico, and while they put the underwear bomber on the plane and while they put Al-Qaeda in charge of all these countries, they sit here like we're morons, like we're idiots, and say, oh, the TSA's now setting checkpoints up on highways and roads and bus stations everywhere. And you know what? They're now, again, well, they're starting to set up armored pillboxes where they drag your wife and children off. And they're going to rob you. And they're going to rape you. And they're going to do what every authoritarian country's ever done. And you're going to love it. You're going to beg for it. Because you're land of the free, home of the brave. Yeah, I like 1776 and all it stands for. I don't like that 1984. The answer to tyranny is resistance. The answer to bullies is to fight back. The answer to a overwhelming bum rush of control freak activity is to redouble our efforts and get right out in their face and stop mincing words, stop being polite, stop being... They've taken American hospitality and turned it into a religion of bootlicking, where the government's the authorities, the officials, and we're the civilians in their military dictatorship. The good news is our military is waking up to what's happening, and so are the police. Got to give credit where it's due. Every cop I run into or talk to, no matter where I am in the country, is awake and listening. We really are the #1 radio show that the armed forces listen to. That's got to freak the globalist out. Man, what a responsibility. What a realization that everybody I meet who's in the military, friends, family, neighbors, medical doctors have been in the military, you name it, they say, man, all people do is listen to your show. And then I think about the globalists who are really smart, but in ways cannot help but exercise raw power. The reason I'm #1 in the military is, going back more than 15 years, I would talk to Marines and others who would hand out films like America Destroyed by Design that just showed the UN taking over our national parks and public lands as collateral on the national debt to the IMF and World Bank and the Exim Bank and OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperative Development. That was a pretty mild film. I mean, it's important, but nowadays it's pretty passé. You know, the banks will set up global government. They're going to bankrupt us. You know, it's made 15, 16 years ago. It's all come true, but unfortunately. But I talked to multiple Marines and Army people who would show the film, and then they'd have to run laps or do extra duty or get in trouble, and then everybody would rebel and just make more copies and hand them out. And then I would talk about it on air, and all these other troops would call in talking about it. And just since then, they call in officers and others and say, I could open the phones up right now, and the military would just fill the lines going, yeah, I was in 10 years ago, I was in 5 years ago, or I'm in right now, and they told us don't listen to it. But a lot of times at these briefings, they even laugh and go, don't listen to this guy, I've been told to tell you this, and then it's wink, wink. It's so ridiculous. Go in and tell people. It'd be like if I went in and told my children, because we've got a jar of candy up high in the pantry, and it'd be like if I went in and said, hey, you know, I just filled that jar full of candy. Whatever you do, don't go get that step stool and climb up there and eat it when I'm out here mowing the lawn. What do you think my kids would do? I mean, the psychology of that. Do not listen to the Alex Jones radio show. When we're #1 on the internet, according to Shoutcast, Alexa, Google Analytics, I don't know, there's like 600,000 people a day download our podcast, and we don't even really promote it or put it out in the new fancy ways. What is it, like 300,000 end up listening to our audio streams every day, to the live show and the restreams at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. I'm not bragging. I'm giving you the good news here, folks, that just on the internet streams, we dominate. And you watch the IP addresses, the military is just rebelling in mass, even though they try to block it. The military is listening to us on duty all over the world right now. So I want to say hi to all of you, as I did yesterday, because the realization of this is just incredible. Every day I run into military who's gotten out or who are on leave who tell me that everyone they know is listening. I mean, I'll be on a flight next to an MP, and he'll go, oh, hey, Alex Jones, yeah, the guys all listen to you. Yeah, they're told not to, but they do. I mean, what do you think the system's going to do? What can they do? I've already said the basics. If they kill me, it'll just make people listen that much more. See, that's the thing about evil, folks. Then I'll go to your calls. You think it's invincible. It tells you it's big and bad and powerful. It dresses in ways to intimidate you. The government likes big marble buildings to make you feel small. But when you call its bluff consistently and stand up against it, it will fold. It will fail when you've got right on your side. There are more good people than there are bad people. But you've got to stand up and say no to this system. Now, we've got guests coming up, a big whistleblower in about an hour and a half. We've got a reverend who does a great job exposing Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and what they're up to and the agenda to exterminate the young of this country, especially blacks. That is coming up. The media says it's racist to even say the name black, but it's okay to chop up black babies. See, it's all about demonizing words. It's like when the Norman, what was it, almost 1,000 years ago, took over England, and they banned most of the English language, and they called it dirty and low. So it wasn't just so-called cuss words that got banned. It was so much more. And they've got the same thing going on today. So we're going to be breaking all of that down. But let me just give you a smattering here of some of what we've got up at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. 5 million volt cattle prod developed for crowd control. Americans are waking up to the dangers of GMO foods. Central bankers inflate fiat currency while plans for one world currency are finalized. The power game, how parasitic royalty consumes liberty. Franken scientists announced mutant GMO cows to produce engineered milk for human babies. Yeah, that's already been going on for 2 years in China. Russian general, the cows are part human, folks. Their mammary glands are, just like they can make a goat's mammaries produce spider web. That's about 20 years old. Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore. Russian general, the USSR collapsed and the same fate has been prepared for the USA. Yeah, by the bankers, though. TSA, a collection of thieves and pedophiles to eat out our substance, to quote the Declaration of Independence, known as the Declaration of Terrorism by the government. Banksters in White House, false flags, cyber attack victims right on time. And I've got a big stack of incredible economic news here. Economic warfare against Iran shows results as rial drops. Yeah, I want to just say this briefly, and I'll get to it more later. There's already a war going on for at least 2 years, probably longer, against Iran, blowing up military bases, blowing up national police academies, blowing up refineries, blowing up bridges, blowing up power plants, assassinating people, shooting people, bombing people, hand grenading people, magnet mining people. That's where they throw a magnet mine on the side of your car door and blow you up. I mean, this is going on daily. They're using al-Qaeda jihadis. That's why the Iranians came out over 1 million the day after 9/11 in support of the U.S., because they hate Saudi Arabia and the Sunnis. They're Shiites. That's why when the news says Iran is al-Qaeda, folks, it is a joke. I'm not even saying Iran's good. The point is that when the media is like, Iran was behind 9/11 now, yeah, and Easter bunnies might, fly out of my nose or my ears. I mean, it's just, they just prey on the ignorance of the public. But their economy is just in absolute shambles, imploding. And they got Stuxnet viruses. I mean, they don't have nuclear weapons. I don't agree with the propaganda we're seeing. And the point is, when I saw Netanyahu last week, I saw newspaper headlines. I thought it was a joke photo of him with a Acme round bomb, the classic black bomb, that bad guys throw in movies. The black round bomb with a lit fuse. I thought that's a joke, about how he's fear-mongering, because I'd heard and read the text of him saying that, they're days away from, nukes or whatever. And then I found out it was real. I thought that was a joke, like something out of Wile E. Coyote. You've got to worry about bombs and war if they attack Iran. Just incredible. And they're using 5 al-Qaeda groups listed as terrorists to attack inside Iran, to overthrow Libya, to overthrow Syria. They go into family homes and say, we're going to kill your wife and children if you don't drive this truck bomb into the police station. And our news is like, well, that's really cool. What a great thing to do. I mean, this is sick. Simultaneously, I have a stack of news here where they're like, oh, my gosh. Well, here's the Washington Post. White House secret meetings examine al-Qaeda threat in North Africa. And they're like, oh, my gosh, we've got to invade all of Africa with Africon because of al-Qaeda. And what did I tell you 6 months ago, a year ago, when all this was going on? I said they're going to invade all of Africa under the name of fighting al-Qaeda that they have injected, the bankers that run our government and our media. I mean, it's so insane, ladies and gentlemen. The only people our troops are fighting in Afghanistan is not al-Qaeda and real Taliban. They're fighting warlords that don't want to only sell their drugs to U.S. and Western banks that run our military. And that's on record. That's all a fight over 93% of world opium supply. It was 9% of world opium production pre-September 11th, 2001, 10 and a half years ago. Or 11 years ago. I keep saying 10 and a half, 11. It's 11 years now. Wow, or more. So all of this is going on, and because of geographic ignorance, because of cultural ignorance, because of economic ignorance, because of spiritual ignorance, because of the incredible ignorance. People are experts on sitcoms, experts on sports. Every time I'm sitting in a bar picking up food to go to bring home every few weeks, all the men do is talk about sports. And you can tell they're not even into it. And they try to impress each other with their knowledge of it. And they'll start looking at me going, hey, sports, hey, fantasy football. And I go, no, I'm into currency wars. I'm sorry. I'm into cancer viruses and the vaccines. Yesterday, I pull into CVS to pick up some things. There's no grocery store around my house in a rural area. There's a CVS about 5 miles away. So I'm driving home. I pull into CVS, and I go, man, I hope one of the managers isn't on duty there, because they always, they all know who I am, as I've shot videos in there, and they'll henpeck at me. So I go up to the thing, and there's this nurse there with her grandson who looks addled because he's had so many vaccines, and there's vaccine ads everywhere. And I get up there, and I hand the guy a 50, and I'm buying about $25 worth of stuff again, just like Starbucks. And he's smiling and looking at me. He knows who I am. The guy's even said something before. And he holds my 50 up to the light and takes his time and checks it and looks. And I go, hey, A, you know who I am. He goes, and he starts smiling at me. And I go, B, are you implying that's a fake $50 bill? Because I know the corporations have been told to discourage cash now. And he goes, I'm a criminal justice major. Like I was supposed to go, oh, my gosh, well, man, you must have 190 IQ. You must walk on water. You must float around. I'm a nobody. I mean, I just, built a media empire out of nothing and have 50-plus crew members and, reach 15 million people a week conservatively now. I mean, whoa, I just talked to you. You're letting me know soon you'll have a baton, beat me over the head out on a dark road somewhere. I mean, I didn't say that. And I went, oh. And the people are lining up behind me, and I go, hey, that is fake money. And he went, but he knew it wasn't. He looked at it again because, it was a 50 with that kind of pink tinge to it. And I said, yeah. And then I'm going to your calls. I said, yeah, it's all Federal Reserve notes. It's 1913. It's all fake. And I pull out money, and I go, see, everybody, Federal Reserve. I go, how many of you knew that? And a few of them knew, a few of them didn't. He was like, oh, okay, well, here's your change. You can go. And I'm like, oh, no. We don't go now. You see, I'm not here to be henpecked by you, where you have your little authority dominance dance with me. And I said, be sure and take all your vaccines, everybody. to the line now backing up behind me because there's one guy there. Be sure and take all your vaccines, everybody, because remember, the government loves you. And he looked at me and smiled like, oh, you're right. And then everybody else went, yeah. And I was like, good evening. You don't henpeck me or you get stomped on verbally. Because I'm desperate. I'm trying to save humanity. I know they're killing us. I know they're attacking us. And I'm not taking any more corporate baloney from these managers that are out there like bureaucrats or like TSA everywhere. Everywhere, companies have told their people, peck you. I go in to get a rent car. They start asking me 20 questions. I go, hey, you just got my credit card. You know my whole rental history. You know that's paid for by Time Warner. I'm here for the Jesse Ventura TV show. You already knew that. You're putting me in a database, part of Patriot Act compliance. And now I'm there with like 7 different rental car companies. Like 100 people are listening to me. And I just turn around and start speaking. And they go, sir, we'll give you a discount. Sir, okay, here's your stuff. And you're like, that's right. That's my stuff. You're right. You don't want me to tell them you're spying on them. You don't want to tell me you got a government database right there. You see, I'm free, folks. I'm off the plantation. I'm a wild human. You understand that? You're meant to be wild. You're meant to be strong. You're meant to be red-blooded. Oh, it feels good to suck air into my lungs because I won't be alive forever. Oh, they hate this. They hate it when you become alive. They hate it. They hate it. They hate not controlling you. They want you stunted and scared. They want to poison you because they're afraid of you. Let's go to the phone calls. I'm going to shut up now. Let's go to Gary in Illinois. Gary, you're on the air. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, you're just talking about people being ignorant. My dentist thinks I'm crazy because I won't let her fluoride my kids. And you pull up to a 4-way stop, and people aren't even smart enough to know who goes first.
No, it's because of television. I see articles every day where people walk off canyons on their phone, walk into fountains, walk into oncoming traffic. They're zombies. Their whole world is looking into a screen.
And about your not having video, I used to listen on radio and really enjoyed it, and then you start putting it on Ustream, and I hated their interruptions, you know, so I just signed up with your Prison Planet TV, and I really enjoy it. Enjoy watching you on there and seeing your document cams and everything like that.
Well, thank you. We will bring the TV back. We're just finishing construction, better soundproofing and things. It should be back tomorrow. I'm just saying I really enjoyed we are streaming video right now. It's just documents and articles, and we're going to have guests via Skype coming on at prisonplanet.tv. But, it's very popular. We'll bring it back. It's exhausting being on camera, and I can't, ignore it. And maybe we could turn the screens off in here. Where I'm not always, because, there's screens in here with me on them, and I'm pretty good at not looking at myself, but it still distracts me. So maybe the answer is turn the screens off most of the time. And then you guys just do whatever you want in there. Because I end up, directing the TV show. I'm constantly hitting the talkback deal and talking to the crew. Sir, what do you think about the fact that they're going to just increase the taser-type systems tenfold? Because, again, and just get everybody used to more and more deaths from the high-powered voltage. And it's just become a normal thing. Oh, yeah, that guy's dead. Do you see how they're upping the power of the soft-kill weapons?
Yeah, I'm from southern Illinois, so I've been on the farm around hog shockers. I know what they feel like, and they don't feel good at all.
Yeah, well, I've been shocked by hot shots, too. That barely even, I've worked with cattle and things and sheep and, you name it. But they barely put off an arc. You can barely see the electricity off one of those, and it hurts. Sir, this sends a large blue beam like lightning.
Yeah, I'm an electrician. I know all about all that stuff. It's going to probably kill people and everything else.
But it's just normal, though. That's not scary. People in uniforms charging around on power trips, killing people. What's the big deal when there's cops everywhere throwing people out of wheelchairs and beating them and people dying left and right, and then it's no big deal? What's the big deal? Doesn't that make you feel safe and good?
Not me. I'm far enough out in the country. I don't see that. I'm like 2.5 hours from St. Louis. We still deer hunt and everything like that around
that's
here.
Evil. That's un-American. Hey, what will 5 million volts do to somebody who's got heart problems?
It'll kill them. It only takes a tenth of an amp. It's what I learned in school to stop your heart if it goes across your heart.
Well, get ready for death. We'll be right back. Stay with us, land of the free, home of the brave. We are back live, taking your phone calls. Reverend Childress coming up in about 10-15 minutes. Continue with your calls. Haven't even got into the economic stack yet. It is unbelievable, the takeover by the banks, engineering the world crisis while having the collaborator media cover up what they're doing for them. Right now, let's go to David in South Dakota. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? I'm a first-time caller and kind of a short-time listener. I've only been listening to you for about a month or so.
Well, thanks for putting up with me.
Oh, it's wonderful. You're just so informative. But, hey, what I called about, well, actually, there's a couple of things. So one is, I don't know if you've been looking at before it was news, or before it's news. Anyway, there's a thing up here that says the world leaders canceling trips and meetings to the United States. And then I went down and scrolled into the audio of this, and it's really scary. I mean, even Obama doesn't have anything scheduled from, well, he's got a meeting in Wisconsin on the 4th, but all of his other meetings and everything have been canceled.
Well, you know why? Obama is practicing for the debate.
Well, that's what I heard, but I don't think so. I don't know. That's just creepy.
Well, look, Before It's News isn't bad. It posts a lot of our stuff, but it posts so much. It's kind of an aggregator. It also posts a lot of stuff that I don't think is very accurate, but we'll look into that. What's the headline? World leaders canceling events. I mean, we're constantly hearing the flying saucers are going to land next week. The end of the world is in December. The nuclear war starts now. We're in great danger. We are 7 billion people with a bunch of high-tech weapons on a tiny planet. And if we have the type of wars we've had in the past, it's over for us. So the species is in grave danger. Mainly because the ruling class is so decadent and insane and inbred. But the constant, naming the date of doom and all that, it never pans out. It's like these preachers, saying the world will end next week. And then, of course, it doesn't. Then they use that to demonize all Christians. But I appreciate your call. We'll look into that. Very interesting. Yeah, people saying, where's Obama? Where's Obama? Well, I mean, he's in Las Vegas getting ready for the teleprompter event. He's got to practice on a teleprompter to every question he may be asked. And if you don't think those debates are rigged, think again. They know from the people what questions they're going to be asked. Let's talk to John in Illinois. John, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. I've compiled a list of 124 murders, mysterious deaths, and disappearances that have happened since the Obama administration took power that appear to have had political motivations.
You mean an Obama death list? I mean, the Clintons run Obama. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. People like Breitbart?
Yes, Breitbart's in there. Giffords, Fast and Furious, BP, political enemies during the '08 campaign. And I've turned the list into an infographic that shows the faces of the victims, and it shows how their deaths are connected to various topics in political policy. I was hoping I could share the image with you and your viewers.
Well, sir, can you send us your list?
Absolutely. If you could give me an email address, that'd be great.
Showtips@Infowars.com, and send it in the next 10 minutes, and I'll look at it.
Very much.
Fantastic. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that point. No, governments never kill anybody. Governments never lie, cheat, or steal. Governments are good. Governments make the grass grow. They make rainbows in the sky. They make the birds tweet. Government built it. Government did it. Government is good. People are bad. People are suspects. Government is above the law. Don't trust average people. Only trust government. The general public are all suspects and, well, civilian scum. Government are officials, authorities. They have the power. They are our gods. There have been some big developments on the TSA front that I never properly got to yesterday, and new developments today that we'll be covering in about 45 minutes after our next guest leaves us. One of our stories that's very important is posted on the right-hand side of drudgereport.com. It's also on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, obviously. We're going to be tying that into TSA to install molecular body scanners. Now the cops will pull you over and say, well, the scanner says you've got drugs. You're going to jail. So now you'll go through and they'll say, oh, the scanner says you have explosives or marijuana. You're going to prison. Because they got to pack the prisons owned by the big banks that launder the drug money and kidnap your kids and sell them to Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's good people we're talking about here. Let's go ahead and talk to Joseph in Mass. Joseph, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, I'm glad that you're on the air. I I got a couple stories to tell you. One, and I got a question for you.
Sure.
About the hospital, and explain to us about that laser thing, because I can't see. We had someone that was in the hospital. We never met him. We used to talk to him. You know, they have the ride service up here for people like me, and some of us are in wheelchairs, some of us are blind. They took his name off the visiting list. They wouldn't even let us go see him. He has no family, I guess 1 or 2 people. But when my friend died in intensive care, I went in and stayed with her. I mean, what is wrong with these hospitals? They're not our parents. All they have to do
so you're saying the hospitals won't let you visit your friends now?
Well, that's what it sounds like. I mean, I've never met them.
No. Hospitals in most countries are the most oppressive prisons, where they force drug, where they take political dissidents, and where they basically kill people. And for 20 years, 25 years or so, they don't give the Hippocratic Oath anymore. A lot of medical doctors are little petty power-tripping technicians now. There's still a lot of good doctors, but a lot of them are now taught bioethics of death. Most universities now teach it's good to kill blind people. It's good to kill people with any type of handicap. And yeah, all over the country, I've had a Wall Street Journal writer, Wesley Smith, on many times, author. I want to get him back on, by the way, listing the hundreds of names of handicapped folks who are paralyzed when the government becomes their guardian, people that can fully talk, totally healthy, want to live, the government murders them by dehydration. Then they use a Terry Schiavo, who they can argue was brain dead when she wasn't, to set the precedent. Well, she's brain dead. No, they kill people who are talking, begging for water. And they don't probably want you seeing that. And every time I've talked about this, I can open the phones up with nurses who aren't killers. They'll say, oh, yeah, they're killing people right now at our hospital or right now at our nursing home. And they strap you down and they murder you. I mean, my dad told me when I was 16 or 15, he said, don't sign the organ donor card. And I said, why? And he goes, well, I know a lot of doctors because my dad's a dentist and an oral surgeon. He would rewire jaws in hospitals in Dallas. And he said, well, the word is they kill you sometimes to get your organs here in Dallas. If you, I said, well, what's your proof? And he said, well, I've just been told. And then years later, it came out in Chicago and Dallas and other areas, people that weren't even hurt that bad, they'd basically let you die or kill you to get your organs if you were an organ donor. Because they can get like $500,000 for those. So that's how it is. And now they're talking about making you be on the organ donor list. You understand? It's all about money. And what better place to kill you? Here in Austin, they've been caught stealing organs. And they've been caught. Just type it into Google or startpage.com. And stealing people's corneas. Even if you're not on the organ donor list, they still steal the goods. How's that sound? Does that sound nice?
No, it doesn't. But I wanted to ask you, I had a friend who was dying, and they let me see her, but this was another hospital. Apparently they handled it right, but they're just going crazy over here at hospitals. I mean, you don't treat people that way. They don't have a right to...
Well, if you're a death camp, you do. What's the name of the death camp?
It was a Massachusetts General Hospital.
Yeah, well, the big general hospitals are government-funded and government-run generally, so that's where you're going to be going to find the worst bugs in those, too, the flesh-eating goods, all the other fun things in the death camp. But, hey, I just try to stay out of the death camps as much as I can. I'm sorry to hear that you can't see your friend. But, hey, what do you think this is, America, a free country? Just take extra shots, everybody. Drink fluoride and eat GMO. Because, remember, the government loves you. They love you. They want to help you. Just the other day, I saw another mainstream news article praising Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. And I knew that Margaret Sanger, I could tell that Margaret Sanger, from knowing history, has been promoted as this wonderful, wonderful savior. And that the general public has no idea that Margaret Sanger was the inspiration for Adolf Hitler and was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation that funded the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. On record, just look this up. It's mainline history that created the Nazi race science. See, that stuff started in England, grew in the U.S. 34 states up until the 1940s had forced sterilization laws targeting poor blacks, whites, Hispanics, you name it. We're going to be talking to Reverend Childress here in just a moment of blackgenocide.com, really an expert on this, but I've dug out some of the famous quotes of Margaret Sanger about killing the black weeds, because I thought I'd tie this into Obama taking the freeze off abortion funds for the third world and then increasing it, what it had been before the freeze, and selling it like it's a civil rights movement. Because this video got attention a few months ago, really just a few weeks ago. Pro-life campaigners post video of abortion doctor saying his work helps get rid of ugly black babies. So I thought I'd break down what's really behind all this and what's behind the welfare and dependency and people wanting their Obama phone. None of this is to empower anybody. It is to fully take over society. Now, I tend to not look at the call list and who's on the board, and this person's been holding about 10 minutes, so I apologize for that. But I thought I'd bring them up real quick because we always welcome station managers on the show. Matt's calling from Illinois, one of our latest, newest affiliates, general manager of WCKG 1530 AM. And he joins us from Chicago. Matt, good to have you calling in. In fact, I'd love to have you on as a guest sometime if you'd have gone to the network. But thank you for calling into the show, sir. Glad you got in.
Hey, Alex, welcome to Chicago. If I cut out, I'm on my Obama phone, so you may lose the signal. I wanted to welcome you because, and I love that you're talking about the TSA, among other things. You've got O'Hare International Airport surrounded right now. So, we're glad to have you on. This is a show that is, as you know, like no other. Up until last week, we had Michael Savage on also, and I thought that you all would complement each other well with Man-Cow, and we had a really nice lineup. It's a weird time for radio, and if there's other managers and radio folks out there listening, I think there's a really great solution in your vacancy for Savage with the Alex Jones Show. So that's what we're doing with it, and we're excited as all heck about it. And welcome to the Windy City, man.
Well, thank you, sir, and hopefully I'll get up to Chicago sometime. I was up there in 2006 for a giant conference with thousands of people, so hopefully I can get up there in the near future, and I'm excited to be on your fine station, sir.
Well, it's really great to have something that's completely unique, and we're really excited about it. And, I know your listeners know this because they support you, but what's really important is that we get all of the info warriors out there in the Midwest surrounding the airport, surrounding Chicagoland to get behind this show. And there's been a couple of key sponsors that have helped. And you know how it goes. When you have sponsors and listeners supporting this, that's how you can get good information out there. And so we're looking on building that, and we're really excited to have you. So I'll let you get back to it. Thanks for being on with us, and welcome to Chicago. And we're looking forward to having you on for a long time.
Well, Matt, it's very exciting as you cover all of the big Windy City. How many millions of people are in your listening area?
There's at least 3 million under the population, or under the signal coverage of 1530 here at WCKG, and we're the little guy. It's Chicago is this huge area, and we cover where the airport is and where the people are, and we're really excited to have you on talking to the regular folks, because I'll tell you what, if it isn't you, it's just the same old stuff. The same guys that are on the news TV shows doing the radio shows, and it's the same stuff over and over again. You're not going to hear about the order for bullets, from the National Weather Service. Surprisingly, Alex, that didn't get coverage here in Chicago.
Well, all I can say is without our AM and FM affiliates, we would not be reaching 1/10 of the people that we are now. And I don't like to gain off of somebody's failure. I happen to know the entire backstory on Michael Weiner, a.k.a. Michael Savage, and because I agree with him on a lot of issues and some other points, it just seems I've been falsely attacked and lied about so much that I've almost got a compulsion now to not attack people in media, especially in talk radio, just because it just looks like infighting or jealousy. The stuff I know about Savage is just off the charts wild. But from people directly inside Talk Radio Network, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but like 5 people that actually dealt with Savage every day. It actually makes him more interesting now knowing what a maniac he is. But we've actually had more than 30 stations call just since Savage left Talk Radio Network last week, and it looks like we're going to gain like 20, 30 more affiliates immediately. I know they're going to put a full-page ad in Talkers Magazine promoting the show. So, but I almost hate to gain by their loss. It just doesn't feel good that way. I like to get such high ratings that stations just replace other shows with mine. We've beaten Rush Limbaugh in many cities like Orlando, but no army can stop an idea whose time has come. And it's so important for listeners to support local AM and FM sponsors. Call the sponsors, thank them. If you are a business owner, sponsor the station, the show. Even if you don't totally agree with myself, the fact that we're getting people to think is bold and needs to be done. And you know, old talk radio is kind of going the way of the dodo bird. It's time for the next generation, and I'm teleprompter free. I'm talking point free. This is real radio, and we've dominated the web. Now we're starting to dominate talk radio itself, and it's very, very exciting. But it's also very important if you're listening to us in Dallas, Texas, or you're listening to us in Rochester, New York, or Los Angeles, or Chicago, or if you're listening to us in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or all the great stations we've got, tell people at red lights about the show. Tell people about the stations. Tell people at church. Tell people to tune in, because if we can all just wake up one more person, we're that much closer to victory. I mean, I've got 15 million listeners one way or another a week. That's pretty much double what it was 2 years ago. We're growing exponentially. We can turn back the tide of the tyrants. So, Matt, very exciting. 15:30 there in Chicago. Everybody spread the word, and God bless you, Matt.
You take care, Alex. God bless you, and thanks for doing what you're doing. It's great to have you on here, and keep up the good work.
You bet. Yeah, so many station managers are trying to get a hold of me, and I need to be able to talk to them all. I need to block out a few hours a week just to talk to these men and women, mainly men. But John Harmon up there at the network, who's in affiliate relations, give these general managers my cell phone number, and then at least they can text me or call me, and then I can just try to get a hold of them when I'm driving or something. That's about the only time I've got in the day is when I drive to work and drive back or do errands, and I can take care of business while I'm driving. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to the big kahuna here. You know, I think all babies are really cute. I love my children. I want to have more children. I'm envious of people around the office when they have children. And I got to tell you, I've seen white babies, Hispanic babies, Asian babies, black babies. I think they're all super cute. But I got to tell you, black babies are really cute. They're all cute. But, you know, protesting in abortion clinics, back when I had time to do this 16, 17 years ago, I've produced anti-abortion shows. I've done it all, folks. That's one of the reasons I got started was pro-gun, pro-life. You know, I'm pro-defense. I'm pro-life, so I'm pro-gun to defend our right to not be run over. And running into people on the so-called left at Access TV and in talk stations and city people and you know, city, quote, officials, authorities, formerly public servants, I learned that they have a statement they make. And I would imagine Reverend Clenard Childress can second this. We're about to go to break. We're going to go to him. That what they always say is when you're protesting, they'll walk up and they'll look at you. The Planned Parenthood people do this when your camera isn't on. They'll go, "Are you going to adopt these black babies?" And the first 20 times you hear it, you're like, what are they talking about? You know, these are liberals. I thought liberals aren't racist. Then you figure out, folks, the real racists pose as liberals. As Margaret Sanger said, we're going to pose as liberals. We're going to hire black leaders with doctorates, and we're going to kill these people. I mean, I laugh in an evil laugh, folks, because they're laughing at you. And we have more and more video clips where you can call up Planned Parenthood and go, I just want to get money to kill blacks. Oh, yes, we know. Oh, yes. You know those recordings. We played them. And, hey, how dare you want to adopt these babies? They're ugly black babies. Reverend Childress, I would imagine, because you're pro-life and in the middle of this, I've never asked you this, you're on the spot. Have you before heard this thing where it's like a standard go-to, #1 thing in their playbook? I guess like the rush or something in football, where they say, you don't want, who wants the black babies? I mean, what is it with this black baby thing?
Well, you know, that's basically somewhat systemic, especially, and as you surprisingly have pointed out, that the Democratic Party is unquestionably, and liberal people are unquestionably as racist as any Southern or any other part of our sector of our community. And I have right on my website, blackgenocide.org, an abortionist, not ashamed to say it, right out in the public one of the reasons why he's doing abortions. As you know, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for the abortion industry to find people who want to do abortions. And so it appears that the ones that they're having now are just cold, sure enough, down outright racist, and didn't mind sprouting that
Stay there. And by the way, I've been giving the website out wrong, even though I've interviewed you probably 10 times. It's blackgenocide.org. Who knows where I'm sending you at the com. Blackgenocide.org. Stay there, sir. We're going to come right back to you to break all that down. Yeah, and that's what this is all about. So all of you that love abortion, you love murdering black people, we'll be right back. You're so liberal. What the system does is they force blacks and others onto welfare, destroy their families. Pre-1960, you can look these numbers up, blacks had less illegitimacy than whites. Now blacks are over 90% illegitimate. The prisons are where the vast majority of black males end up getting sent. MTV pumps out absolute cultures of death, gangsterism on purpose. I've talked to insiders, not that it's not obvious, to destroy. And then people stand back and make fun of a wrecked community when everybody else's community is being wrecked as well. The blacks are just further down the Hades hole than everybody else. And let me tell you, for racists out there, folks, if you sign on to thinking it's cool to kill babies of any type, let me tell you something. I don't want to be on the side of the mojo you're getting. And believe me, I've been around the so-called liberals when they hiss at you and you find out they're really hardcore racist. See, a hardcore racist doesn't dress up in a Klan outfit. They go dress up with long hair and sandals. I'm not saying people in long hair and sandals are all racist. The point is the real hardcore ones, that's how they operate. That's what Margaret Sanger set up. It's called camouflage. And Reverend Clenard Childress of blackgenocide.org breaks this down. Coming back from the next segment, we're going to play the clip of just one of the genocidists talking about how wonderful it is to get rid of the ugly black babies. And that's what that is. When you want to get rid of a race, that's genocide. And we're going to be breaking that down. And then they've got liberal black groups that lobby to make sure whites can't adopt black babies. And they say it's a cultural issue. It's better to chop them up. Reverend, keep going. The break interrupted you with the points you were making.
Well, basically, I think you basically said it quite well, that this racism has very well been disguised. And people, and I believe it's because, right, this is a two-party nation, I know, and Republican Party was begun to stop slavery and usually takes the higher ground. But in the black community, the deception has been that the Democratic Party, because of, quote unquote, being liberal and more humanistic when it comes to their thinking politically, are not going to perpetrate racism when they have been the greatest advocates of racism basically this country's ever known, under deception. Now, the reason why that happens, though, it is just like, believe it or not, what Malcolm X said. You know, you have the house Negro and then you have the field Negro. Well, Jay Jackson, Al Sharpton, the Congressional Black Caucus have somewhat become profiteers from this dilemma, this particular genocide that's been going on in our community, not only with abortion, but education also. And it is more or less they are now just to keep African Americans in line and dumb to the truth. And your program is especially important in any program like this that will expose the truth of genocide and expose the true perpetrators of it. And unfortunately, our leadership has sold out. As Malcolm said, they have become house Negroes. I don't espouse the Muslim faith, but I do know truth when I hear it. And they are profiting from it, and it's the main reason why Al Sharpton's on MSNBC. These people basically are given a platform, and African Americans by nature are very suspicious of any other source other than the sources that they have chosen for news. And so they've infiltrated those sources and bought off as Margaret Sanger said, she'll hire a colored minister. Well, that's what basically has happened. They've been hired, bought out, and the Holocaust continues. Educational Holocaust continues, and the family.
What is it like when you see her on the cover of Time magazine praising her as a loving liberal, knowing she was Adolf Hitler, basically advisor?
Yeah, the Smithsonian said that she's one of the best 100 people of the past century. Once again, any cursory search at all, the woman was not just racist, she was a devout racist, diabolical racist, and tutored Adolf Hitler in the Third Reich. I mean, what other credentials do you need other than that? And of course, I know the Comstock laws were kind of strict, but nevertheless, she gave it her life to destroy any type of morality in the country when it came to sexualization, because she had her own issues. But she also looked at African Americans or people of color, as you already stated, as human weeds. She's on record saying this, spawning human beings that should have never been born. I mean, this is the language that she used, and knew she was wise. She knew the black preacher was very, very much an influence on the African American community, and still is today. Not as much as it once has been, but certainly still is today. And she said, well, we'll hire a black face, a colored face, and they paid these ministers off, by the way, which is not talked about.
Stay there. Let's come right back. It's a long segment coming up. We'll play that clip, too. I mean, these letters she wrote are on record. She said, we're going to hire blacks, and they'll get in there and help us exterminate these weeds. So there you go. All these, quote, liberals on TV. I want you to understand something. You're not listening to rhetoric here. You're not listening to Alex Jones, that's yours truly, spinning something. You're not listening to me give you my perspective. Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood, the eugenicists were 100% funded by 4 robber barons and the British royal family. Well, the Dutch royal family funded some of it as well. The Rockefeller Foundation funded most of that. This is like Pulitzer Prize-winning books. This is like mainline history. Hitler came out of them. Hitler was Time Magazine Man of the Year. They had gardening magazines with Hitler on the cover. My grandfather remembers growing up in Dallas, and they would put Hitler on the radio and translate it in the 30s and said, this is what we need in America. And some of their family was German immigrants, well, originally German immigrants, and they would have, debates about it. And they were saying, oh, no, Hitler's bad, because they could speak a little bit of German. He remembers his dad and talking about it and saying, oh, no, they're going to take over. It's going to be bad. But the point is, in the 30s, they were saying Hitler was good on Dallas radio. Hitler was a rock star in this country. Mexico had eugenics. And this is all eugenics. And here's the point. You can look at these inner city neighborhoods. I don't care if it's poor Appalachian whites or poor blacks or whatever it is. It is atrocious. It is horrible. You can laugh at the Obama lady saying Obama gave us a phone. He's going to do more. And at one level, it's funny. But at the other level, it's very sad to laugh at some people in Appalachia. I was just there 3 or 4 months ago driving through. It was scary, folks. Those people look like they've had their souls sucked out. And that's what dependency has done. And here's the thing. So-called liberals will say, oh, really? Look at the inner cities. They're so horrible. You want more of those people? And I'm like, you know what? You guys did that to them. I happen to have studied the anthropology, and I happen to know that those neighborhoods weren't like that just 60 years ago. Our government shipped the drugs in there, ran the prostitutes in there, brought those areas down, and went in and put those young men in prison to a college on how to be criminals, and the gangster rap and the whole agenda, and then you say, let's kill them. Well, let me tell you something to the fake liberal yuppie types out there, or the useful idiots, because I know some of them that actually believe they're helping people with all this welfare and the rest of it. It's domestication for institutionalization and extermination. You saw the big bioethics journal a few months ago come out and say, hey, let's kill babies up to age 3. You hear about them euthanizing people all over the country. They're attacking everybody, as Tony Brown of Tony Brown's Journal has pointed out. What you see done to the blacks is going to be done to everybody. Let me tell you something, folks. This is a reap what you sow thing. You buy into evil against some minority that you feel superior over. Let me tell you, if you really are superior, and I don't mean racially, I mean spiritually, you know you want to lift everybody up, because instinctively you know that what's being done to somebody else is going to be done to you. And God will say to you, I don't want to start preaching here, we got the pastor for that, when you're there, go away from me, I know you not. They were hungry. They were poor. They were dumbed down, and you didn't help them. You didn't know them. So I don't know you. And folks, I don't even need to be intellectual about this. My soul shakes with God fear when I even think about people that think it's cute to want to exterminate black people or anybody else for that matter. Reverend, I know I'm ranting. Take it away for a moment. We'll play this clip. You've got it all up on your site. How many blacks have been exterminated? Was it 51% haven't been born? Where is it all going? Do you have comments on what I've just said?
Well, basically, most people don't know what you just said, but history is repeating it because you mentioned Hitler. At first, the scapegoat was the Jews. Then it was everybody, Poland, Russia, whoever. It's about control, and it's about domination, it's about power. And this is what basically gets the ball started. And whatever is being sown in this community eventually will come back on the society as a whole. And so, yes, 52% of all African-American pregnancies end in abortion. There's roughly over, I'd say now, 21 million since 1973. And so if indeed 1,786 a day. Now, that's a conservative figure because all abortuaries don't have to report. But from what we get from the CDC and the Center for Disease Control and the Alan Guttmacher Institute, which they're very proud of because they're the learning arm of Planned Parenthood, it is 1,786 a day. That's genocide. African Americans is the only ethnic group in this country at this present time that is not replacing itself. You need 2.1 births to replace itself, and right now we're at 1.96. And so, believe it or not, in Europe, in some nations, the Italian nations, some others even worse, but right now, that's genocide. And people used to say that's hyperbole, you're radical, you're just, you know, a Republican funk, you're a conservative nutcase, but basically, it's a sociological fact. There is black genocide going on right now as I speak. And unfortunately, as you've already stated so eloquently, the reason is African-American leadership are profiting from this. They are profiting from it, so there is no cry nor any voice in our community that has the platform that will deal with this. I want quite real quick, 1530 out there in Chicago, please. 246 homicides within a year, and there was only 146 in Afghanistan. And Father Flager and Barack Obama, who came out of that, Jesse Jackson and Reverend Jeremiah Wright, has not lifted up their voices in harmony against this, brought in the Congressional Black Caucus, NAACP. Why? They don't care. As long as it's not up disrupting their little world, these homicides and this horrible black-on-black crime continues, but it's just another form of genocide. But they're not. So if they're not going to say anything about that, you know they're not going to say anything about 1,786 African Americans killed each day by abortion, especially if they're profiting from it. They profit from this, and yet they present themselves as guides to the African American community.
Well, I mean, isn't that the litmus test? If black leaders are for abortion, then they hate humans. I mean, not just black people. I have had many meetings, and I've talked to and I've been in person with prominent liberal black leaders. I had dinner with them, you name it. And I'll say, hey, why are you for abortion? And it's like a religious thing. It's their entry into the Democratic Party. They will defend it all day and even, you know, sit there and kind of halfway run down poor black people and say, well, you don't want all these babies. You know how many babies I'd have if we weren't aborting them? And again, so first they say don't have morals, the society degenerates, and then you kill people as a form of birth control. And then now, of course, they're in the news saying, hey, let's kill kids up to age 3. Let's euthanize old people. I mean, it's just incredible.
And that's Peter Singer from Princeton, a professor who's been advocating that for years and is sitting teaching supposedly the most finest minds in America. Barack Obama's mother, if she'd have followed his advice, poor and single, he'd have been aborted. Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, he was scheduled for an abortion. These same people are now advocates for abortion. It is the biggest hypocrisy I could ever, and people will not hold their feet to the fire.
Let me ask you this. How come black folks, when their local political controllers get them all hyped up over a police beating or whatever, if you try to talk to them about this abortion thing, they get really angry and don't want to hear it? I mean, it's sick. I mean, can't black people understand 52% of you aren't born since 1973? Can you get that through your head? This is a big deal. And your leaders won't talk about it because they're eugenicist hired pimps to kill your butt.
That's a good way of expressing it. Hired pimps, no doubt about it. They've been pimping the African-American community for quite some time. Is it getting better? Yes. Are more people coming to the knowledge of the truth? Absolutely. But it could quickly end. It could quickly come to the forefront.
That's where I wanted to go next before this clip. You talk about winning. For those that don't know, polls are now flipped totally against abortion, whereas 30 years ago it was for abortion. Give people those numbers. Black Genocide 21st Century, MAFA 21 that we sell, the film, at InfoWarsStore.com. Yeah, it's been shown to folks in Congress. So thanks to your work, and others, and of course, evil white Christians that are fighting against the murder of black people. Thanks to this, things are starting to turn around. Break that down for us, Reverend.
Well, basically, you said it once again, and I wrote a paper when Barack Obama got elected that because he is such the face of black genocide, this was going to bring awareness to this country as never before on abortion. And exactly, that did happen, and those pollings began to shift. You had the Notre Dame, when he went to speak at Notre Dame, and all these other things happened. And African Americans, this, by the way, my offer was given to the Congressional Black Caucus. Now, wait a minute, listen to this. Barbara Lee had a meeting just a month ago. You need to get Day Gardner on your program. She was right there. She told the Congressional Black Caucus that Reverend Childress mentioned my name even. I was very proud of that. All the learned people, everybody on this battle, their information is right, but it's not about that. It's about a woman's right to choose and the strength of our party. That is the God's truth. I cried when I heard it. It took me a couple of days to realize to say I must be doing something if they're mentioning my name, but that's the truth. So it has to be a grassroots. Your program programs like yourself are essential. And if it doesn't come this way, you can forget the top down. After that, I realized it was just a child's dream.
Think about that statement by one of the head people there at the Congress. The statement is, hey, yeah, they are exterminating blacks, but that's what it is to be in our party. They just admit incredible things like it's no big deal.
Listen, if you can boo God and take Jerusalem out of the capital of Israel, you can do just about anything. I've given up. As far as thinking that the present leader, it has to be a massive grassroots movement to force them into doing something of this sort. And it has to be if my people, which are called by my name. It really has to be a grassroots movement. And I was broken by that for a day or so, because I really thought that the Congressional Black Caucus, if they just knew, they would do something about it. Not the case. Their political power.
No. You know they've been politically tested from the city to the state to the federal level that they will shine on to abortion, and with black leaders especially, but Democrats period, they are absolutely committed, and they will tell you. Let's play that clip here in a moment. Pro-life campaigners. There's a whole bunch of these videos. Post video of abortion doctor saying his work helps get rid of ugly black babies. Here is that clip.
Dump it on the taxpayer.
What does that got to do with the baby?
Don't put it on the taxpayer, okay? I don't wish to pay for the baby with my money.
You would rather profit
Okay, you get it?
You would rather profit off of those children?
No, I'm not profiting. I, as a taxpayer, do not wish to pay for those babies to be born and brought up and kill those people in Colorado. Go ahead and pay for that. Let me see you adopt one of those ugly black babies, okay?
We do.
If you tell us, we'll adopt them.
Yeah, go ahead. Adopt those babies, okay? Take them off the taxpayers' money, okay?
Give us a chance to adopt them.
I have heard this literally hundreds of times. You adopt the black babies, the babies nobody wants, and I've even heard the ugly statement. So that's the mantra going on. And then they have the liberal groups. Again, there's the groups are out there. CNN does reports saying don't let black babies be adopted by whites, because what's happening is you see these billboards up everywhere that says, hey, abortion, you don't have to do it, call us. And all these big Christian charities actually adopt the baby. They pay the woman to have the baby. And it's white, Hispanic, Asian, black. They hate it that there are more people wanting to adopt babies than there are even abortions each year. And they want to keep this hoax going that nobody wants the black babies, because the last thing they want is millions of black babies being adopted by whites, because that would actually bring people together. Reverend, do you disagree with that statement?
No, I do not. I do not, absolutely. Yeah. All intents and purposes, we would like African Americans to adopt African Americans, but we know we don't live in a perfect world. And the best thing for any child is to have a home. Your excuse was you could not care for the child, okay? All right, we will help you, or we will adopt those who come into this world, those who are left at firehouse stations and police stations. But this is just bigotry. It's underlying bigotry. It is an assault on people of color. It is an ideology. You know, not everybody is profiting from this. Some people just do this, as you mentioned, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and Mellon. They just do this basically from the point of an ideology. We need less people of color in this country. And basically, and there are those, of course, that do profit from it quite well. So adoption, that's the way our scriptures teach us. I was sick, and you visited me. I was hungry and homeless, and you took me in. I mean, that's Christian. I mean, I can tell you the story of the early Christian church, where Rome, and we're heading that way now, would, if for any reason you could leave your baby, if you birthed the baby, you didn't like the shape of the head, the complexion, the hair, the eyes, you could leave that baby by the side of the road, and at the penalty of death, if anyone were to touch that baby, they would be killed, and the baby would be killed instantly. But you were allowed to leave the baby by the side of the road to die. That was Roman law towards the end of their regime. Christians refused to adhere to that law. And no matter how many kids they had, they would rescue those babies from the side of the road and raise them up as their own. That's a historical fact. And yet you have people with collars on talking about that they are representatory of the church, advocating the destruction, the mutilization, the deplorable act of abortion, and then not saying a word of the psychological damage, the physiological damage to the woman itself. Abortion is one of the most ironic issues and hypocritical issues and mind-blowing issues, because if anyone should be shouting against abortion, it should be now the National Organization of Women. It should be those groups for what it does to women.
And by the way, there's so many studies, as you know, that it massively increases cancer to terminate a pregnancy that shouldn't be. The body will do that generally if it's needed. And again, I get back to the issue of just the statement that nobody wants black babies. Obviously, it is good for people, culturally, to be adopted by their group. My point is, it's better than them getting chopped up. We know Hollywood people like to do it as a fad or whatever. My point is, there's this meme, Reverend, that nobody wants black babies.
Well, that is, once again, it's systemic. It is still a part of our system that African Americans, less of them would be better. They are inferior, despite all the records of inventions African Americans have given to the country. But it is just evil. Sometimes we're trying to figure this out sociologically. It is evil.
Oh, yeah, in the time of Moses, the Pharaoh was ordering the firstborn killed. I mean, governments throughout history demand children be killed. It's called human sacrifice. Stay with us, Reverend. Bottom line, we're seeing the dehumanization of our planet. It is so frustrating that when I attack Obama for all the evil things, Fast and Furious, ending our sovereignty, the comments on the YouTube videos, on Infowars.com, on films like the Obama deception are, you're just a racist. And, I'm pretty young. I'm 38. I grew up in Dallas, black friends, white friends. I really, have not been somebody who is obsessed with race, because I'm into ideas. I'm confident. I'm successful. I found the more confident and successful you are, you tend to not be into this stuff. But it's so frustrating to have race be an opiate that is used by MSNBC and others as a way to divide America. and a way to basically keep poor people on this reservation, and that's what it is. It's so incredibly frustrating. And Reverend Childress, has been a powerful interview today. Your Skype's been breaking up a bit, but most of it's gotten out there. In closing, any other points you'd like to make or any comments on all these videos surfacing of Planned Parenthood people saying, yeah, we'll help get rid of the blacks, and, you know, people saying, yeah, we'll kill the ugly black babies. I mean, it's so incredible that then when Christians expose this, the media demonizes us and calls us hateful.
Well, you got to also remember, and I think November 6th is extremely important, because this president has walked hand in hand with Planned Parenthood throughout his whole career. There's never been a clearer time for Christian people or people of conservative thought, of morality. There has never been a clearer time for us to go to the polls. And, you know, I'm not thrilled about him, but he is the obvious choice in this election this coming November. No doubt. We just must send a message. We are not going to go for taking God out of the platform of any political group. We're not going for basically a smack of the face against Christianity of telling me to endorse same-sex marriages and questioning our biblical Judeo-Christian ethic. There's never been a platform to do this. There's never been an election where anyone has been so clearly anti-Christian. Christian better respond in November, or else we're in big trouble. And don't believe these ridiculous polls. Everything I'm getting, many people who voted for him are not going to do it this time around, and many people are going to stay home. So but there's never been a time in this country where Christianity has ever been challenged as irrelevant and not viable. And we better go to the polls in November, or else we're going to be in big problems. Reverend
Childress, blackgenocide.org, unbelievable information on your huge site. Very important. People check that out. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
There he goes. God bless you. And remember, folks, it's not just black babies that are in danger. It's just they've gotten ganged up on the most. And, man, if you're God-fearing, folks, and I don't just mean that's some mental thing. I mean, God-fearing means you know when something's wrong. You know when something's evil, and you know when it makes the Creator angry. I mean, God-fearing means I can feel God's anger. I can feel it. And, man, this is bad. And to have them running around like they're liberal, lecturing all of us. You don't like government-run health care? You're a racist. You don't like welfare? You're a racist. Meanwhile, they're chopping these people up left and right. I get so angry, especially at white liberals trying to lecture me. I want to slap them upside the head. And I'll say this about Mitt Romney. He is a globalist, but at least on the surface, he has to say he's anti-abortion. And that, hey, you built your business. I mean, look at with the Democratic Party. They have become purely globalist communist. And that's the plan. They move further towards tyranny. The Republicans act like they're against it, and they move over to where the Democrats used to be. Get Black Genocide, the 21st Century America, available at InfoWarsStore.com. Get a free citizen rule book with it. Also get subscriptions for the new InfoWars magazine. 2 issues now out, InfoWarsStore.com. And your financial support by buying books, videos, the Pro Pure water filters with 10% discount at InfoWarsStore.com. All of it funds this operation. All right, we've got a whistleblower coming up and phone calls. You know, I meant to say in the last hour while I started ranting, controlling my anger is the big problem, because I intellectually analyze all this stuff and then I just go into a rampage when the gates open. I'm not judging you if you've had an abortion. You need to understand it's the fact that the system pushes this to dehumanize life and to reduce value of life towards getting rid of old people, the infirm, you name it. We've been down this road. I know who engineered this. I've read all their public documents. It's a plan. So you may say, oh, it's a choice, and oh, you know, cases of rape, incest, all these excuses. It's directed by evil, and there's no debating it. And I'm sick of people playing games, okay? I'm tired of it. But I'm not judging people that have had abortions, okay? As long as you know it's wrong now and that you were lied to. But it's people that know all this is going on and just want to kill people because they're against poor people, they're against blacks, they think they're going to make things better. They dumbed everybody down so they'd get control of them so they could kill them. It'd be bad enough if people really were this stupid and servile and domesticated to kill them. It's really bad to dumb them down so you can say, look at these people, let's get rid of them. I want no part of that. I have self-confidence. I believe in myself enough that I don't want to kill other people so I can have the world to myself. I want to build them up. We're not going to the stars, folks, with this attitude. Let's go to Matt in D.C. who disagrees. Matt, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Well, I wanted to say I'm a PrisonPlanet.tv member, and I just have been a little bit discouraged lately because my business accounting professor put a good point out, and he mentioned a book that came out in the 70s called The Choice by a guy out of the Nixon administration. And the question was what to do with all the uneducated black people. Oh, by the way, this guy is black. And
well, of course, he's been bought and paid for to think it's cool. I've run into blacks that say get rid of the poor blacks.
Oh, not only that, he's the chair of the department.
Send me info on him. I'd like to cover it. Show tips at Infowars.com. By the way, did that Obama death list come in, guys? On the show tips? Go ahead.
Oh, yes, also. There's the new Avengers movie that came out.
Hold on, let's go back to what he said this book covered, The Choice. I don't know it. Go ahead. What does he say?
The whole book is about, you know, the uneducated blacks need to be thrown in prison and aborted so that they wake up and they do something with their lives. That's the message he was
Oh, man. Sir, you can pull up the Justice Department's own statistics. They're well-known, anthropology, sociology. Do you know what black neighborhoods were like in the 30s, 40s, 50s?
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, you need to find out about it. Do you know they went in and took over and kicked the men out and started throwing them all in prison to create a prison college system to send them back? The government then funded the gangs to force young blacks into this culture. Then they put out the gangster rap on MTV with the worst images imaginable to literally degenerate that group culturally to then export it into the rest of the culture. Blacks are being created into the image of the New World Order cancer to take over everything. And by take it over, I don't mean take over and rule it. I mean to bring society down. Okay, so there's this superiority complex. They got a lot of blacks out there pushing it, that if the blacks are aborted and put in prison, that somehow that'll let society go forward. They've destroyed the blacks like an anchor to bring the whole thing down. Did you not hear anything we covered in the last hour?
But yes, I did. I was actually just bringing up the point, trying to make the point.
But but I mean, did your professor really say this?
He hinted at it on the first day of class, and of course, very few people in the class, looked up the book he was talking about. But
I'll look it up. I mean, they think it's real smart and cool to we'll show the blacks, we'll abort them or put them in prison. Sir, the prisons are designed to turn out criminals. They push on white kids and Hispanics the worst vile gangster garbage that was tailored for the blacks to destroy them. Our next guest here today, again, thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv, where we're streaming video right now. Our next guest continues in the ongoing parade of high-profile reporters and journalists at CNN, New York Times, you name it, going public. Amber Lyon, who was on last week. I think she's on Joe Rogan's podcast today. I was just talking to him yesterday. She said CNN was covering up massacres in the Middle East, but then telling them basically to hype up other things that weren't happening. They want to attack Libya or Syria, hype up what Bashir's doing to fight al-Qaeda or what Gaddafi was doing fighting Western-backed al-Qaeda. She was told to basically shut up, and then she learned that CNN was being funded by foreign governments. It's not just the White House using your taxpayer money to sit there and do all this. So she wanted to expose child sex trafficking, you name it. CNN wouldn't let her, and now, of course, it's come out CNN is a Pentagon front. That's even in the Washington Post itself, a Pentagon front. And again, people say, Pentagon front, what are you against the military? At the top, our country, our Pentagon, it's all run by foreign banks. They've bragged about it. My last issue of the magazine, InfoWars magazine, the September issue, gets into the banksters, in their own words, bragging how they have captured and conquered America and Europe through economic Ponzi scheme fraud. Now, here's one of the headlines. New York Times, a propaganda megaphone for war, says former reporter. And this gets into the fact that they were told to basically engage in propaganda and pressured to do it. And now it came out last week, backing up what he's saying. More reporters saying, yeah, the White House tells us what to do and what to say. The CIA has to approve things. You know, that came out in one of the WikiLeaks. So you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I've had major, people in and out of government contact me, always off record. So then I wear a journalistic hat, not just a rabble-rousing hat a lot of the time. So then I can't say anything about the phone call. People are like, well, tell us who said that. Well, then I'd never get sources trying to encourage me, to join the dark side. And telling me how I'll be safer if I do that. Because before it was, you'll get all this money and power. Well, now I've built up our media system without their help. Because my goal is to wake people up. It's not money and power. Money is good to protect yourself and be strong, but it's not what we're after. That's a byproduct of it, and we put it back into the news organization to build it up and to hire more crew and to get our output up, because there's so many stories need to be covered. Daniel Simpson is a renegade correspondent and author of A Rough Ride to the Dark Side. I know off the record there's a story behind what's happening with the book, but I wonder if he'll tell us about that. I would if I was him, which recounts why he gave up his job to join the mob. Born in England in '74, he read history at Cambridge, then trained as a journalist with Reuters before being hired by the New York Times. I won't go over his whole bio, but he has been blowing the whistle on what's going on inside the New York Times. And since then, a lot has come out to back that up, and more journalists are getting ready to go public. Amber Lyon of CNN, 3-time Emmy Award winner, she said that most people support her. See, here's the secret of evil. It intimidates good men and women to stand down when we're really the vast majority. But we are cowed by them, not just through fear, but good people almost are almost always meek, or they see it as aggressive or chauvinistic or dominant to stand up. No. Slaves have that mentality. We must rediscover the animating contest of liberty, as Thomas Jefferson called it. So he joins us to go inside what's going on, the pressure, the manipulation, the spinning, at the New York Times, who helped get us to war in 2003, who helped get us to war with the baby incubators in 1990. All of it pure bull, and then helps promote Gaddafi and the rape rooms with the Viagra. Which was a fraud. So he joins us now. Daniel Simpson with a new book. Thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you, Alex. And I'd just like to show people a copy of the cover of the book, just to give them a flavor of what it's about. But yeah, as you explained, it's a story of why I quit my job at the Times, and I've since been trying to share what I learned as an insider at that institution, albeit for a very short period of time. But what I witnessed there seems to carry on, unchecked, regardless of the fact that they printed this supposed mea culpa about what they'd done at the time of the Iraq invasion. I mean, really, that just seems to have been an attempt to clean up their image rather than to change what they do.
Well, that's right. I could rant all day about this, but I want to go inside the book. But how's the book doing? I'm surprised this got published. Tell us about your publisher and how that's going.
Well, it's not an easy book to get published, not least because I'm not one of these big swinging dicks at the New York Times anymore. If you're in that sort of position, you can whistle up a book deal fairly easily. Having walked away from that world and spent 10 years doing other things, for me to now try and talk about what is to the minds of the publishing business, like the news media, an old story, it's not such an easy thing to sell. And so I took a little while to find a small, fairly niche publisher in the UK called Zero Books, which, to their credit, publish quite a lot of left field thinking, whether it's philosophy, psychology, or political stuff. And they were good enough to put it out there. The only problem is that they're not very keen on me getting out there to talk to people about it, because really their business model is to sell books via Amazon. And in the end, selling books via Amazon shuts down independent bookstores. And in the end, to stock independent bookstores, you've got to run an expensive logistics operation to make sure you have. Yeah,
a little bird told me that the book physically is sold out. People can get the ebook for now, but that it's a little more than that. That somebody might have gotten to somebody now.
No, I don't know if it's a question of that so much. I think it's more just a case of, the publisher wants it out there, but they're not prepared to do what it takes to invest in promoting, independent writing.
Okay, well, let's shift gears out of that then. Good for the publisher supporting you. Get into what you break down and your take on other journalists like Amber Lyon coming out and backing up what you're saying in triplicate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You summed it up very well when you talked about money and power, but there's something else at the New York Times that really needs to be factored into the equation, and it's status. You know, people there are very concerned with how they look and how they appear to those in power. And the reason for that is partly to do with something else you alluded to, that by getting access to those in power, they get information. The problem is, obviously, what kind of information they get and how they choose to handle it. And the job of the New York Times reporter, by and large, is to take the official point of view and make it palatable for public opinion. And no less a person than the editor, when I was working there, said as much once he left his job. He wrote an article for the Atlantic Monthly in which he said, and I quote here, "It misses the point to say that the Times is an elite publication. It is the indispensable newsletter of the United States political, diplomatic, governmental, academic, and professional communities, and the main link between those communities and their counterparts around the world." So basically your job is to take dictation from those in power, try and make it more comprehensible to the readership, and foghorn that around the world so that leaders of other countries get with the program. And, you know, by and large, that's done because people who are writing for the New York Times have a similar worldview to people who are running the country.
So it's a talking point machine for the Council on Foreign Relations, the big banks, the Trilateral Commission, and others, and that's come out. And as you point out, they lied about aluminum tubes, yellow cake. They help with the incubator story, you know, a decade or more before that. And then they're always trying to fix their image, the gray lady, which is a shadow of itself, but they just can't stop engaging in propaganda. And I'm sure you're aware of the latest stuff leaked where they're running stories by the CIA and the White House.
Yeah, there's a very interesting piece I read by Glenn Greenwald looking into the whole process of how they tried to, somebody who's reporting on the CIA for the Times is trying to shut down the output of a Times columnist that might be in some way minutely critical of the CIA. And he sees his job as being to assist the CIA in getting its message out, which is ridiculous. But coming back to what I saw, I mean, my most alarming thing is that no one's actually telling anyone what to do. They're figuring it out for themselves, and they're figuring it out for themselves not because of some terrible project on the part of the New York Times to promote these interests that they are ultimately serving. It's largely because they believe their own hype. And they believe their own hype on two key fronts. First is objective reporting. They think that they are truly objective. I mean, there's actually no such thing as objectivity. The question really is, whose agenda are you promoting? If you have your own agenda and state what it is, that could be a very noble thing. Could be the service of the public. But in their case, they pretend they have none. So what they do is serve the agenda of those they get close to as their most influential sources. And then the second thing is this whole conception of what American power is for. And as I say, they buy into these same assumptions as the people who they're reporting on. And I can see how that process comes about. They go to the same institutions for their education. They spend time at the same cocktail parties. They become friends with these people. But in the end, they're being used. And
yeah, it's a gang. It's a gang to take dictation from the mob bosses, and then they get to go to the parties and scurry around and feel important, and they get paid off with book deals. But the public's becoming wise to that, so their viewership and readership is continuing to plummet, but they're still so arrogant they haven't fully figured this out yet.
That's true, but at the same time, one has to stress. I mean, I still read the New York Times. There's a lot of reporting in there that is useful if you can decode it. I mean, they get out on the ground, they interview people, they dig up facts, they stick them in the paper. Problem is the way that they frame them to promote.
Oh, I agree. I read all that stuff because it's all right there. They'll just tell you Al-Qaeda slaughtering people and forcing fathers to suicide bomb is loving and liberal and great and freedom. And I'll just go, wait, well, that's an Al-Qaeda group they're saying are heroes.
Well, there's a thing in today's paper, and I think actually right now being updated on the website. It's a story about Obama's plan to authorize strikes on people who are deemed responsible for this killing of the U.S. Foreign Service officer in Libya. And right tucked down towards the bottom of the story is a note that says actually the legal basis for these killings is not clear. So actually, that should be the lead of the story. But of course, that's buried right down the bottom for people like you or I to get lost in at some stage. And that's the way that the news should be framed, but they hide that away. They're smart enough and they're well informed enough to know that they need to put that in the story.
Yeah, the headline should be Pentagon, launching Skynet operations worldwide. The Terminator has arrived. I mean, it's totally illegal, violates Geneva Convention. Stay there. I want to hear more about what you saw inside the gray toilet paper of record. We'll be right back. We're talking to our guest, and then I'm going to get into Whole Foods censors GMO expose. The video just went live at Infowars.com. You better get it now. They've been pulling it everywhere. This is outrageous what Whole Foods has done, and I'm going to be going after them now. The gloves are coming off. Undercover video investigation admitting presence of GMOs at Whole Foods stores is pulled from YouTube under orders of claiming violation of terms of service. Pulled, it says, by basically order of Whole Foods. So now you can't go in a grocery store in America. I've done this so many times and done reviews. I like Whole Foods, but now they're being taken over by Monsanto. I'm not putting up with this. I want everybody to go film Whole Foods GMO stuff and put it on YouTube. Man, that makes me angry. I'm tired of this bullying. What is YouTube for if it isn't for citizen journalism? I'm ranting, and I apologize. Rough Guide, darkside.com is the website for Daniel Simpson's new book. And I hope people can go and get the hard copy of it, or they can also go to Amazon, other places, and get the digital format of it. But I was talking to the fellow that brought you to Austin to speak at Brave New Books, and he was talking about the journalism students that came down by UT, and they were told by their professor, don't go to that and don't write about that. I mean, talk about control freaks. I mean, journalists shouldn't be scared to go hear something maybe they even disagree with, but now journalists have just become these repeaters. They're not journalists. They're not even reporters. They just are vomited on by the press secretary, and then they go back and vomit it onto the American people. So it's kind of like a river of vomit. What do you say to that, Daniel Simpson?
I say that it's alarming that Scott McClellan in the Bush White House, once he stepped down, was able to say more clearly than any reporter what had happened in that time. He called the press complicit enablers. I didn't see that on the front page of the New York Times. I mean, they did publish this sort of wishy-washy apology for having printed a load of fake intelligence information that made an illegal war possible. But at the same time, they didn't learn from it. They didn't learn from their role. They didn't understand how they're co-opted. And one of the ways in which they're co-opted that really scares me is actually embodied in the kind of investigative reporting they do. And of course, there is some good investigative journalism in the Times still. I mean, they're renowned for things they've done in the past. This weekend, the proprietor from a while back, the father, I believe, of the current proprietor, Mr. Sulzberger, he died, and they had this front page eulogy to what a great guy he was, in which Barack Obama, no less, was quoted as saying he'd done a fine, upstanding thing in publishing the Pentagon Papers. Now, Pentagon Papers came out in 1971. When did the Vietnam War start? It depends how far back you want to go, and which element of escalation you want to call the start of the war. But in the end, there wasn't a lot being published in the New York Times that was critical of that policy or making it less likely that escalation could have taken place. It was after the fact, when some official documents were placed into their lab, that they really went to town on the story. And that's the way that they operate. They see everything having to be validated by official sources to be news. When a very prominent person in the power structure wants to lie to them, they will take that down. They'll put it in their newspaper. They won't put underneath the quote that this guy is lying and here's the evidence that proves it, because that would be editorializing. That would be biased. But it's not apparently biased to print the lie. And then at the same time, the only way that you can refute the lie is to get somebody else in power to say it's a lie. So you're dependent on these whistleblowers in very high places, who obviously have got a lot to lose by putting that information out there. I mean, we've seen what's happened to Bradley Manning, who, frankly, didn't release anything that, earth-shattering, assuming, of course, it was him that put the stuff into WikiLeaks' hands. Basically, we're in a position where to get stuff out of the machinery of government,
Sure, but I mean, more and more, we're finding out that foreign governments call CNN up and are paying them money to shut down reporters or journalists. And now a group went and filmed admitted GMO products in Whole Foods, and they shut it down for terms of service. And watching it live time while you were just talking, they just deleted the backup video that we found. I mean, they are in live time right now. I guess their headquarters is here in Austin. We're all over the country, but listening to us in there in live time deleting things. I mean, Whole Foods doesn't want people to know they have GMO, even though it's admitted. I mean, how insane is this? That now they're erasing journalist videos because they dare go in a store and show this stuff. This is incredible.
Well, this is what you're operating against in the corporate media. The corporate media is obviously run by large corporations and is at the service of other large corporations who pay for advertising space and pretty much define the the worldview of the right-thinking American who believes in promoting the unsustainable economic model that currently drives this country by doing such things as invading far-flung countries to control natural resources to ensure that American hegemony continues for another few years before it crumbles. So in the end, you know, basically corporate control can influence the like you pull a video off, but at the same time, you know, a ridiculous video that's being used as justification for protests all around the world, slamming Islam. They claim they have this freedom of speech that means they shouldn't pull off something that's being used to...
Amazing. Listen, good luck with your book. Look forward to having you back on. We'll be back. Listen, here's the deal. I don't like being bullied. I don't like being pushed around. And Whole Foods is now the biggest so-called organic healthy food store in the world. Billions and billions of dollars a year in profit. I've even one time run into the original founder on the street, you know, here in Austin. He lives here in Austin. I'm told he listens to the show. My wife shops at Whole Foods. It's overpriced, but you can find organic food there. There's knockoffs of it all over the country. Central Market, HEB puts out. And Monsanto now has members on its board. That's confirmed 2 years ago. And they're letting you know more and more that they've got GMO in there. And you see, Whole Foods helped mainline organic healthy food, old-fashioned food. You're like, ooh, grass-fed beef, ooh, fancy. Cows are supposed to eat grass, not ground up dead dogs and stuff. That's what a lot of animal feed is actually ground up dead dogs. You know, your dog gets left at the vet, it dies. They say, oh, we'll take care of your dog for you. Most of the time it isn't being cremated, folks. It's being sent to a dog food factory or an animal food factory. The point is that Whole Foods is a globalist operation now. It has all these magazines up front about, oh, the family's not good. Oh, austerity's so trendy. Oh, don't have plastic bags. It's bad. Oh, we're going to henpeck you. But Whole Foods overall has got a lot of good people working there. You know, they got a great selection of foods and things. I don't hate Whole Foods, but you got California in the polls 2-1 set to pass Prop 37 to just say, hey, we want our food labeled. The United States is the beachhead worldwide of the eugenics operation that is GMO and all the big studies sterilizing and giving tumors and killing the rats and guinea pigs and other mammals they tested on. And so I've done reports on Whole Foods. I mean, I can go to the regular grocery store. We were thinking about doing a report showing the regular grocery store and all the horrible stuff in it versus some of the better stuff, you know, at the nicer grocery stores and show how it's a class thing, how the poor people are just being killed, and then how the rich people have access to the organic stuff, or the wealthier people, the middle class. All of this is going on. I'm a customer of Whole Foods for 20 years. I've lived in Austin for 22 years. And I have been a customer. My mother's been a customer. I have a right as a citizen to go in there, they operate as a commons, and to show, hey, look, they got a sign up saying we don't have organic now. Hey, look, you know, they put us on notice. People go and cover it. There's a group called Organic Spies. Really smart to call it that, so people take notice. They went and just showed the admitted stuff that's GMO. That's insect genes and things. That's crops that grow their own pesticide. You need to physically see it, not just have some quiet announcement like you let, you know, gas out in church. We want to have it big and roaring there so everybody hears it. And see, I was going to send my reporters out just to talk to Whole Foods customers, you know, out at the street. I'll probably call the cops so you can't even be on the sidewalk. We own Austin. But now, because of things like this, in live time, they are pulling the videos down, claiming that it violates terms of use. Whole Foods censors GMO expose, undercover video investigation investigating admitted presence of GMOs at Whole Foods stores is pulled from YouTube. And we've tried to talk to them the last week. They won't talk to us. We're right here in Austin. We got like 8, 9 reporters, 10 reporters total, I guess. Some of them are part-time. Mike Adams lives here in Austin, become a magnet of patriots. He's tried to talk to them. They won't talk to him. So my answer is, hey, everybody should go show the GMO stuff at Whole Foods and put it on the web. Because, see, now it's not just about GMO and Monsanto coming into your company and Bill Gates. Now it's about our First Amendment. See, you don't want us as consumers to go, hey, we like Whole Foods. What are you doing? Because, see, now it's just going to be more and more GMO. And Whole Foods isn't fighting, last time I checked, to get Prop 37 passed in California. So now they've gone from being this bulwark. Hey, Whole Foods, if you want to play this game, that's fine. We'll see where your stock goes, and we'll stop shopping there. Okay, because I'm going to go get some video, I'll tell you right now, and you take my video down, I'm not some little group that's going to put up with it. And it's not that I'm looking for a fight either. I have a right as a journalist to go show what you're selling people in a public commons. You say, well, this is private property. Really? I have to know the laws and the court rulings. You operate as if it's free and open to the public. And come on in here. You got bars and restaurants in there and everything else. And the media should have a right to go show what you're doing in there. Be like a shopping mall, they said. Oh, you can't have any media here. Well, the media would start coming in with undercover cameras. This attack on groups. Look, you may think you've bought off the mainstream media, globalist. It's dying. It's dead. See, now the alternative media is the new media. They're legends in their own mind, folks. Legends in their own mind. CNN claims their top show has 1 million viewers. Turned out it was all fake with Nielsen. MSNBC, the same thing. MSNBC's more like 100,000 maybe watching it at one time. They're a joke, but it's all fancy. These big, giant emperor's new clothes, and it's all a fraud. So now they know we're the new media. They know you with the camera listeners could make international news tomorrow, and it freaks them out. That's why they've got new patents and back doors to just turn off all the phones in the city so you can't videotape when they're going around arresting people or shutting down videos. I went and videotaped the Federal Reserve last year at a protest in San Antonio. They took it down. And back then you could go into YouTube and do a counterclaim. Now they just let it happen. Well, they don't have to sue because the Federal Reserve said we can't film their building. Remember that, Aaron?
I sure do.
So in this new America, oh, you don't film our building, American scum. Folks, we better all stand together for the First Amendment or it's over. If you're listening to us on an AM or FM station, may not even agree with some of what I say, you better support the First Amendment or you'll lose yours. It's kind of like last hour. You know, you're like, oh, let's just abort the black babies. You know, blacks are a problem. Oh, really? Well, the globalists want to abort your baby, too. They want to euthanize you when you're old. Don't you get it, folks? You better stand up for some basic standards or we go to Hades in a handbasket. Aaron, I'm ranting. You put this article together today pretty quick. They're now jerking the backup videos. Now, we have more backups we posted up at the bottom or linked to. Here is a mirror of the pulled video. It's at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Do we remember to post it at Prison Planet? So many times we just post stuff on InfoWars now, and like I tell the Prison Planet guys, there's all this news on Prison Planet that isn't an InfoWars. And I say, well, you post it on InfoWars. I tell the InfoWars guys, will you please post on Prison Planet? And the answer is not until hell freezes over in the night circle. Excuse me. Anyways, the point is, you turn this article together. It's very good. Whole Foods censors GMO expose. Aaron, tell us what's happening.
It's going to be on Prison Planet in a few minutes, but we're talking about this video went viral. It had hundreds of thousands of views. It was making a spark. All the organic blogs were talking about it, all the health blogs, alternative news, and suddenly it was pulled. Well, maybe the video didn't have any merit. Maybe it wasn't true what they said. But Whole Foods
should have been proven in court.
Whole Foods officially responded to it. They were obviously very nervous about it.
No, I looked it up. They haven't given money to Prop 37. Monsanto's moving into their board. I mean, I've seen it. It's very accurate.
Well, Whole Foods got nervous about the video. They dispelled the rumors, said they weren't deliberately spreading disinformation, but they did admit they do sell GMO ingredients. They sell products with GMOs in it. It's admitted on their official blog, Whole Foods. Now, as far as their donations, they say they don't donate to political causes, to candidates, to these ballot measures, and that's why they haven't backed Prop 37, although they claim to back it.
No, but I mean, they put it out on their website. They've given notice. It was like a year ago. I've said we should do reports on this. I mean, they've been announcing they've got GMO now. I mean, that's...
Well, they had a big meeting with Tom Vilsack, who heads the USDA, with Monsanto at the table where they basically agreed to stand down and let them roll over the whole country with GM alfalfa, which, as you know, is one of the biggest food crops for all livestock.
Yeah.
So
I want to, you know, I told you to report on this last week. I want reports every day now.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they did this, I want to be out front their stores talking to people. Guaranteed they'll call the cops even when you're on the sidewalk because you're American scum, so am I. You don't stand on the sidewalk filth. Anyways, I'm filthy as well.
This out. They say they won't back Prop 37. The CEOs, Walter Robb in particular, is backing the wife of Tom Vilsack, who's a total whore for the biotech industry, for Monsanto.
Well, I want you to go out there with all the proof and tell the people at Whole Foods, because this was going to be a friendly report. But, you know, you mess with my First Amendment, you know, because, again, they have to take over. The main capital of the organic movement has been Whole Foods. And the globalists have gone in and rolled in.
Well, that's what's so sad. I shop at
They probably did it with those SEC investigations. Remember that? And I predicted like 4 years ago when that started. I said, watch, that's it.
I shop at Whole Foods every week. I spend hundreds of dollars a week there.
What's going to happen if they ban your videos? What are you going to do?
Oh, they already try to kick me out for filming the fact that more and more each week there's less and less organic produce. It's more and more conventional every time I go there. And
so you've already filmed devil footage.
Well, I don't have a photographic memory. I was trying to document which areas have...
you American scum. Give them your money. You're not allowed to document the GMO filth.
They tried to kick me out of the store and then followed me around the whole time I was there.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm turning you guys loose. I'm giving Whole Foods fair warning, too. But, I mean, we were going to do one about how you've got the slaves at the regular thing with no organic, basically, and they got to pay 3 times as much. And I've even noticed in the poor stores, it's even more to have organic than at a regular, fancy pants store. Then we'll show kind of the uptown H-E-B versus the central market versus the Whole Foods.
Well, that's why this is so devilish, because people who seek out to eat organic, to not eat GMO foods, are paying more to shop at Whole Foods. But then, if you don't read every ingredient from everything on the shelf, you're inherently eating GMOs by mistake.
Well, Aaron, it's extreme to want to know what you're eating. And it's extreme to give them, tens of thousands of dollars a year and then want to be able to, understand why everything's turning to GMO. How dare you?
If they try to censor the media covering this, it's going to come out anyway, because employees have already contacted me from there. They're concerned about the way the store's been changed.
Oh, yeah, you want to give your email out for whistleblowers?
Yeah.
We have the whistleblowers at Infowars.com, which we should check every day. I'm sure we are. And what Aaron with 2 A's at Infowars.
Right.
.com.
Yeah.
So, the answer is employees should...
there's a lot of employees...
Hey, they shut down half of Barton Springs yesterday. I found out the employees revolted because I said it was coming, and now they've opened it back up. You got to start saying no, folks.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the same at Whole Foods. There's a lot of people who work there because they're concerned about organic issues and about stopping GMO, and they're going to be angry when they look up what their CEOs are doing and who they're meeting with and why they're...
Well, that's why I like Whole Foods. I walk in there, and it's like these are real, quote, liberals. I mean, they're fans. They know what's going on. They're waking up. Everybody loves me over there.
A lot of them tell me they love you. A few say they don't really go for your brand of politics, but they're concerned about organics. So we have a lot of allies there and a lot of outright fans, and as we should.
That's right, because you're known, because you're on TV, too.
I occasionally get recognized.
It's like Howard Beale says, why do you want me with this message? He goes, because you're on TV, dummy.
The point is, we have to expose this because people are trying to make a conscious choice to avoid GMOs, and they're being sabotaged with a sneak attack because it's infiltrated the whole market. Because corn, soy, canola oil, cottonseed oil, they're in the 90+% range. They're dominating the entire food industry.
And now they don't just have the main 9 food crops and oil crops, the foods that produce cooking oils. Now what they're coming out the next year with 23 more. The next year it's over 100. Everything from tea leaves to tobacco, it's over. It's all going to have special little back doors at it. So you can't escape. There's no escape if they get this through.
And all the meetings with the Asian private partnerships, the North American Union meetings, the deals between Canada at the border, all that is also meant to push the GMO agreement.
Oh, no, they tell them, we'll let you bring in your product, shut down our industries if you just accept this. We really want your people to eat this special corn that kills bugs that eat it. You're like, but it kills bugs. Never mind. It's just, it's killing the rats. Never mind. Hey, you're run by eugenics companies. Your directors are all on eugenics boards and say they want to get rid of the population. Never mind. Just eat the food. Just eat the food. Just eat the food. We love you. You've studied eugenics, Aaron. How deep is the rabbit hole?
It goes extremely deep. This is covert population control. Look at Monsanto with Agent Orange. They've been warred by other means through chemical resistance against the population from the very beginning of their company. I mean, they've been pushing some really bad stuff.
Same thing with IBM. Same thing with Microsoft. Folks, research it.
And this new rat study where they found the rat does cause cancerous tumors early on in their life, that's been going on for decades, too, because back when Monsanto had not yet absorbed Searle, you found people who were investigating aspartame. They would have their laboratory.
It took them 3 times to get it approved because it's killing the monkeys.
And all the research that...
They love us, Aaron. The government radiated 4,000 plus foster children to death because they love them. U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B, says they can kill us in secret test if it's for experimentation because they care. These are good people.
Look, Henry Kissinger put in official state policy to use food as a weapon, meaning against the third world. But look at what's happened in the real world. Donald Rumsfeld, other Department of Defense secretaries have headed Monsanto or their subsidiaries. That's food as a weapon.
Food as a weapon. The UN says so. I want to tell all the yuppies that still love abortion, okay, you're going to get your life aborted. You're not going to get your non-GMO, suckers. Enjoy. And all the TSA workers getting radiated, enjoy.
It's really sick, Alex. I mean, it's frustrating. Why are the people from Whole Foods...
The new wheat study came out. The new GMO wheat sterilizes the rats. What's the big deal, Aaron? I'm sure it's an accident, Aaron. I'm sure it's fine, Aaron. So they've got new stun batons that'll kill people, not just electrocute them. I mean, what's wrong with that?
So you got African nations, European nations, Russia refusing our GMOs, but we still have to eat them in America. We can't have that food labeled.
We're land of the free, bud.
That would drive up the cost of food. All these arguments they have, it doesn't add up.
It adds up to love, Aaron.
Yeah, it's a love bomb.
Aaron, when they attacked Libya and put al-Qaeda in, that was loving.
I mean, you ask about eugenics, while they have the on-the-surface debate about whether or not we should have population control or pass out condoms in the third world, they're just de facto dumping all these chemicals and poisons on us to reduce the population without asking anyone. That's what's going on with eugenics.
Well, I mean, they said in all these textbooks they would, like eco-science, but let's not listen to that. Everything's fine, Aaron. Don't be so fearful, Aaron. I mean, don't be so fear-mongering. It's good to just shut up and go along with it. Because if you try to warn people and stop it, that's fear-mongering. Like there's already ongoing proxy wars, and they admit there's a war against Iran. But if we say, hey, they're about to go to a bigger war, we're fear-mongers. They're not attacking any countries with drones. There's not wars. There's not checkpoints. They're not devaluing the dollar and other world currencies. Everything's fine. Just because everything we said's coming true means we're bad, Aaron.
Look, I think Whole Foods probably initially was trying to push the organic movement.
They had SEC investigations. I'm on record, if you can dig it up, saying that's the end of Whole Foods. You do an SEC investigation. Mark Cuban was going to put out a loose change that I was producing in theaters on 1,000 screens and all this stuff, the owner of the Mavericks. We were talking to him. And a year later in court, he released it. I was told about it while he was on the phone with Charlie Sheen. I'm listening to this at the house on speakerphone. And he goes, well, I'm going to have to bow out, man. The SEC's calling me up, threatening to put me in jail if I do this. Well, a year later, he released the emails where they were going, imagine seeing an email. We're going to get you because you're going to fund this film. And then Cuban's like, well, I won't do that then. Just over, some tiny stock sale. They still went after him. And he beat it, and they went after him again. So, I mean, I'm not mad at the Whole Foods owners. I mean, they've told him. I remember the SEC investigation?
No.
They did that. No, man, they're going to, dude, they're going to bring, we're under attack too. I just won't back off.
No, the thing is,
most people get threatened, they roll over.
What's that saying about a cornered animal's twice as dangerous? Monsanto knows there's resistance against them. They know people have woken up to GMO foods, that they wouldn't eat them if they were labeled. And so they fought the system again and again to make sure it's never labeled, to make sure it's always fast-tracked approved, never tested by...
Yeah, that's it. No, they're in trouble, and they know it. And so they did an SEC and a bunch of other investigations of Whole Foods and said, look, you do what you say or it's over. We'll be back. It is that simple, and I have had enough. It's taken me 2 days to get to this, and I haven't gotten to it. I want to thank DrudgeReport.com for linking to it last night until this morning. I'm going to get them to repost this as the top story on Infowars.com right now, because everybody needs to get this. TSA confiscates camera and deletes footage of checkpoint. That's one article. TSA rescinds approval to film in response to opt-out campaign. By law, you can film in these quasi-public areas. There are servants. It's not terrorism to film. And I have a declaration at the bottom that I have not yet read entirely on air, and it's very, very important. And so I am going to, read this on the nightly news tonight. Jakari Jackson is doing the main part of the news. Aaron Dykes is going to be having a special report on Monsanto and the takeover of Whole Foods. All of that's going to be happening. We're in a fight for our lives, folks. If they can force us to eat this GMO, it is over. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of studies where every major GMO crop sterilizes, deforms, mutates, kills mammals it's fed to. And look, there could be GMO that didn't do this. It's designed that way, ladies and gentlemen. It's eugenics. I mean, I've had so many scientists on where they're like, hey, this potato's sterilizing the rats. And they go, of course, that is the plan. That was a Russian scientist I had on. I mean, it's all these companies. Look at who founded modern science. They were eugenicists. And the same big families that believed in it. Hitler was only one little spinoff of these people. And we're under attack, folks. I mean, we're leading the world in cancer, neurological disorders, everything else. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, we are under incredible tyranny in this country. And it's going to get a lot worse. Look at what's happened in other countries and other parts of history. And we know that's where the globalists are taking us right now. So it's up to all of you out there to count the cost and decide, are you going to go quietly with this, or are you going to make a noise and say no? They think they can just incrementally twist your arm and condition you to accept all this, and that you're going to fail, and that I'm going to fail. But I know we're made of better stuff than that. So let's get organized, let's get focused, and let's just start speaking out. Many hands make light work.